The rhythmic hum of Lagos filled the air, punctuated by blaring horns, vendors' shouts, and the occasional hiss of frustration from commuters. Adunni Adewale sat motionless in her aging Toyota Camry, trapped in the infamous Third Mainland Bridge traffic. The December sun, though hidden behind a veil of smog, bore down relentlessly, making the air heavy and oppressive. Adunni's gaze wandered to the digital clock on her dashboard, 7:45 a.m. She was late for work, again. Her phone buzzed insistently on the passenger seat, and though she knew it was her boss, Mr. Alabi, she made no move to answer. What could she possibly say that she hadn't already repeated 100 times? As the radio droned on about upcoming New Year's festivities, she sighed. It was the last day of 2024, and Adunni felt no closer to the life she had envisioned for herself. The past year had been a string of disappointments. Her once promising career in banking had stagnated, her engagement to Connor had ended in heartbreak, and her father's health was deteriorating. She glanced at the skyline of Victoria Island in the distance, its towering skyscrapers a cruel reminder of dreams unfulfilled. Another year wasted, she muttered, drumming her fingers on the steering wheel. By evening, Adunni was weaving her way through the bustling alleys of Balogun Market. She had a list of errands for her father, medications, provisions, and a stop at the tailor's to pick up his agboda for church. The market was alive with pre-New Year's energy, traders yelling out deals, customers haggling furiously, and the distant rhythm of a talking drum adding a festive undertone. As she turned a corner, she collided with a young boy. He stumbled backward, clutching a small envelope tightly in his hands. "Watch where you're going," Adunni snapped, her frustration spilling over. "I'm sorry, auntie," the boy stammered, his voice trembling. "Please, help me. My mother is sick, and I need to buy her medicine. I don't have enough money." Adunni froze, her instinct warning her to be cautious. Lagos was rife with scams, and this could easily be one of them. "What medicine? How much do you need?" she asked, eyeing him skeptically. "They said it's N5000, but I only have N2000, the boy replied, holding out a crumpled wad of naira notes. Against her better judgment, something in his eyes, wide, desperate, and pleading, moved her. She reached into her purse and handed him N3000. "Make sure you buy the medicine," she said firmly. The boy's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, auntie. God bless you," he said before disappearing into the crowd. The next day, Adunni sat with her father in his modest home in Suralia, adjusting the pillows on his bed. The TV played in the background, tuned to a news station. And in other news, a 12-year-old boy, Chijioke Okeke, has been reported missing. He was last seen near Balogun Market yesterday evening. Anyone with information is urged to contact the police. Adunni's heart skipped a beat. She turned to the screen, and there he was, the boy she had helped. The grainy photo showed the same wide eyes and close-cropped hair. She grabbed her phone and dialed the number displayed on the screen. After explaining her encounter, the officer on the line assured her that the information would be investigated. But as she hung up, a nagging feeling settled in her chest. What if her small act of kindness had led him into danger? Over the following days, Adunni became obsessed with finding out what had happened to Chijioke. She visited the market again, asking vendors and passers-by if they had seen him. Most shook their heads, but one fruit seller recalled seeing the boy running toward a warehouse on the outskirts of the market. The warehouse was notorious for being a hideout for criminals, but Adunni couldn't ignore the lead. She reported it to the police, who promised to follow up. New Year's Eve found Adunni sitting in a dimly lit police station, her nerves frayed. The officers had agreed to let her accompany them on a raid of the warehouse, though they warned her to stay back. The operation began just before midnight. The officers surrounded the building, weapons drawn, and stormed inside. Adunni watched from a distance, her heart pounding as shouts and gunshots echoed in the night. After what felt like an eternity, the officers emerged, leading a group of frightened children out of the building. Among them was Chijioke. The first day of 2025 dawned clear and bright, a rare gift in Lagos. Adunni stood on her father's balcony, sipping a cup of tea. The events of the past week had left her shaken but also profoundly changed. She had spent the morning visiting Chijioke and his family, who were overwhelmed with gratitude. The boy's mother had embraced her tightly, tears streaming down her face. As Adunni watched the city come alive with the promise of a new year, she realized she had been given a second chance, not just to help others but to redefine her own life. "Happy New Year, Lagos," she whispered, a smile breaking across her face. The days following the rescue were a whirlwind. Chijioke's story made headlines, boy rescued from traffickers on New Year's Eve, but for Adunni, the victory felt incomplete. The boy's eyes, once so bright, now carried shadows that couldn't be erased. "Why did you go to the warehouse, Chijioke?" Adunni had asked him during one of her visits. I was strict, he admitted quietly. A man told me he could help my mother, but instead, he took me there. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air. Adunni couldn't help but wonder, who was this man, and how many others had fallen into his trap? Her determination to find answers grew, even as her own life seemed to spiral further out of control. At work, her boss had grown increasingly impatient with her absences. Her father's health had taken another turn for the worse, and the bills were piling up. But every time she considered stepping back, she thought of Chijioke and the other children who might not be so lucky. One afternoon, while sorting through old documents at her father's house, Adunni stumbled upon a faded photograph tucked into a manila envelope. It showed her father as a young man, standing with a group of people in front of what looked like a community center. She recognized one of the men instantly, Inspector Adebayo, the lead officer from the warehouse raid. Her father had never mentioned knowing him, and curiosity gnawed at her. The next day, she confronted her father. "Papa, how do you know Inspector Adebayo?" Her father hesitated, his weathered face clouding with unease. "Adebayo and I go way back," he admitted. "We were part of a community task force in the 80s, fighting against human trafficking. But things got complicated." "What do you mean?" "Some of us, we made mistakes. Trusted the wrong people. Adebayo stayed in the fight, but I stepped away. It was too dangerous." Adunni's mind raced. Could her father's past be connected to the present-day trafficking ring? Determined to dig deeper, Adunni arranged a meeting with Inspector Adebayo. The man's demeanor was as stern as ever, but there was a flicker of recognition when she showed him the photograph. "I didn't think you knew," Adebayo said, his voice gruff. "Knew what? That your father and I weren't just fighting traffickers. We were fighting someone, a powerful figure who ran one of the biggest rings in Lagos. We thought we'd dismantled his operation, but," he paused, his expression darkening. "Lately, I've seen signs that he's back." "Who is he?" Adebayo hesitated. "We called him the Spider. He controls his web from the shadows, using layers of intermediaries to protect himself. If he's involved in this case, we're up against more than just common criminals." Watch out for part 2. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting stories.